Hey,
Hey, sister.
all right. So it is officially 8 p.m. on the East Coast and 5 p.m. on the West Coast. And we are starting our bi-weekly broadcast of Hey Sister. And tonight we are going to have a hopefully enlightening and insightful conversation as we do every week. We come to you with Hey Sister, but we're going to do a 2017 year end review. So we know that in the coming weeks, we're going to see lots of year end reviews and the best of this list, best of that list. So we just start on that and give you our takes for 2017 on what some of the hot topics were and give you our unique perspective on those topics. So that's our aim for tonight. But sister, hey sister, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I was in Louisiana, my home state,
Mm-hmm.
for the weekend and celebrating my friend's 40th birthday. So again, shout out to Nashana. She was on our first episode
Our
of
very first.
Yes. So shout her out. But we had a fabulous weekend and very, very happy to have had that experience. But I'm back and we have 14 days or something left in the year.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Looking forward to what 2018 has to bring. How about you?
Well, I was in Louisiana briefly, just traveling through the airport, but I spent my weekend actually in Mississippi celebrating my mother-in-law's 80th birthday. So we had a surprise birthday party for her and had to get back with my son because he had school today. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful celebration of life to see. I mean, she had about 100 folks in the room that came to celebrate her. And it just is a testament that when you have a life well lived and you give and share of yourself and so into others, that you can't put any type of monetary value on that. So just the love that was in the room, the experience was fantastic. So I'm super excited about having been there this past weekend. So
Well, great.
that
Well,
is it.
let me just say, since I wasn't there, happy birthday to her. Happy birthday also to our little cousin, Kinsley Patricia. A lot of people had parties this weekend, so happy
Yes,
birthday.
yes.
From
So
80,
I would have to do the math. Like, yeah. Yeah, I'd have to do the math. What was happening in those months? I don't know. What back up? What was happening? Because we have a lot of December babies out there. So shout out to all the December babies. Um, but tonight, let's go ahead and dive into our topic and our discussion. So what we decided to do is format this in a way where we kind of keep it consolidated, divided up into categories. And so we're going to do our top five by category. Those categories, we are going to discuss some of the hot topics within those categories. Because let's face it, 2017 was a year. We had so many things happening all across the spectrum. So we want to all of those things. And so our number five on our list that we want to talk about a little bit is politics. Now they say you should never talk about religion and politics, right?
well,
But
at least not in the workplace or what have you. But I think that's part
yeah,
of the
well
problem.
tonight we're going to talk about it here on Hey Sister.
Amen.
Yeah, so politics. So there were so many crazy things, not just even crazy things, but just so many new and exciting things that happen in politics. So I want to share this link with folks um, that I found on CNBC as we were preparing for this broadcast. And these were the top 15 people who made history on election night in elections 2017. And so what is so fascinating about this list is the diversity. And I'm talking about true, genuine diversity in this list and people who made history in elections in 27. One thing that you wanted to talk about, shout out to the sister. Tell us about that.
Yes, I definitely did. And I wanted to shout out to the sisters who are, and this is not to be exclusionary, but in a world where there is so many conversations about race and gender and things like that, I really have to shout out the women who, one, made a huge difference. Black women who made a huge difference, obviously, in the Roy Moore, Doug Jones election or race, but also the Senate race. Thank you. But also, the sister. We have a sister who's the mayor now of Charlotte, North Carolina. We have a sister who's the mayor of Atlanta, Georgia. We have a sister who's mayor of New Orleans, Louisiana, and we have a sister who will be replacing the mayor from Francisco who passed away unexpected. So I just have to say I'm very proud of seeing Black women take a political stance. I mean, we always have, but oftentimes even in history we played a sort of a role in the back, and so it's awesome to see them playing, to be at the forefront of the conversation. So shout out to them and all of the people, like you said, on that list that exhibit what true diversity is, because unfortunately we don't see it enough at the highest ranks of our government as well as in corporations. So shout out to them.
Yeah, so, I just want to make note of a few of those names on that list. Like I said, it's a list of 15. We put the link in the comments so you can go read the article and really see what type of history was made across this country. But in Virginia, Danica Roem became the first elected openly transgender candidate to serve in the Virginia House of Delegates. So we're talking about Deep South Virginia. That is a major move, major change. You also have the first Sikh mayor of Hoboken, New Jersey, Ravinder Bahali. I think that's how, or Bahala. I think that's how you pronounce the name. And so that is a major milestone and step moving forward. And then let's talk about the state of Minnesota. Minnesota went off the charts, okay, and really, that promise of America where it's for the people and you really have full representation. So, in St. Paul, Minnesota, they have their first African-American mayor in St. Paul. They also have two a transgender man and a transgender woman that are to the Minneapolis City Council. So I'm talking about Minnesota is making some serious moves in saying that, hey, we are all here. We all have a voice and we all should be represented, no matter what hue we come in, no matter what gender preference we may have or we choose, no matter our sexual identity, just no matter what, we are here and we need to be represented. And I just want to shout out because it's a real testament to true diversity out there. So shout out to all of those in politics who brave the meanness of politics and put their name in the hat. They put their name in the arena and they fight the fight. So shout out to all those folks. So go ahead.
I just wanted to say, because there was also a brother, and I am going to forget his name, I'll have to look it up later, who was also, I believe, in North Carolina, and he had been a part of the Black Lives Matter movement, and there's a picture of him that's standing in front of the crowd, and shirtless, and it was just awesome to see that evolution as well, because it's one thing to be protesting and be an activist, and that's absolutely necessary. But then to say, you know what, I'm not going to just be mad or angry about a situation. I'm going to do something about it. And I think ultimately we all just need to do something about it. So wanted to say,
and whatever that something looks like for you, do it, right?
Yes, exactly. I wanted to say hi to Michael because I saw he said hello. So, hey, Michael.
Hey, Michael, thanks for joining. Join the conversation in the comments and share with others. Let them know that we're on now. And we are talking about our top 5 for our year in review for 2017. And the first area that we talked about was politics. So politics came in number 5 on our list. Is big issue, big topic to discuss. The next one, number 4 on the list, talk about investments and the stock market. So the stock market has been performing off the chain here. And listen, hey, I know every president wants to take credit. None of them really deserve a whole lot of credit. We do know where the policies are made that influence what happens in the marketplace. And so a lot of what we're seeing, it is influenced and shaped by policy, but it's not necessarily solely dependent on policy. So I don't go for all of that. Oh, well, the jobs numbers because this president, whatever. In the stock market, you look at trends, and right now the trend is hot, and it has been on an incline for months, but it has hit all-time record highs. And the year-to-date return on that stock market is like 25.45%, which is incredible. It's incredibly high. But one of the real hot areas that everybody is talking about, and I don't know if you've gotten into this or not, sister, is cryptocurrency.
Yeah, I have actually.
I don't say that again.
I say, yeah, I have actually. I still have. I'm still figuring that all out, but I do know that it is something that I've heard about actually years ago, and had been referenced in a movie that I saw. That's when I first heard about it, and I just really didn't have real understanding. But since then, my trainer is very big into, my personal trainer, and he was very big into digital currencies and cryptocurrencies. So he would tell me about them, and so I started looking more into them and investing a little bit, and just a little bit. Wish I had invested more now, but it's it's been a very good year for Bitcoin and for Ethereum and some others that are coming up. So like I said, I don't know a lot about it, but it's just like we were talking about with politics. I think it's sort of the same thing. It's important to get involved at some level. So however you are saving, investing, get involved at some level, learn, be a part of the conversation. I invested small. I was like, if I lose this money, it won't make a big difference to me. And so to see it like triple and quadruple, it's been pretty good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, in the comments, I put a link to an article that I found says that from Investopedia.com, it's the 6 most important cryptocurrencies other than Bitcoin. So everyone has been talking about Bitcoin. Bitcoin has had the greatest focus. However, to the point you made, maybe it's time for all of us to do a little more research and find out what's happening in cryptocurrency, because we never know what shifts or moves that may take place in our economics and then how the dollar is valued. And what the value of the dollar is. So we just don't know. And I think there's a lot of things. So the stock market is performing great. It's at all-time highs, at record highs. That is fantastic. And it keeps getting higher every day, it seems. On the other hand, what happens when it's not so high? Because we've seen that in our recent history, and we know that these things come in cycles. And so cryptocurrency is another option out there for people to not only invest in, but also to exchange and, for goods and services. So it's something that we just need to learn more about.
Absolutely. And I think the bottom line is, as with anything, like, I'm no financial advisor, so this is no advisement at all. So please, take that caveat. But I think with any investment you make, you want a diversified portfolio. So that's about it.
Yeah. So the next thing on our list, number 3, is the wildfires. So there are wildfires happening all over the West Coast. And right now there's still a really huge wildfire that is impacting the greater Los Angeles area. And I know that was your most recent home. So why don't you tell us about what you've heard from your friends about what's happening out there from a more personal perspective, and then we'll talk about it from a more macro perspective.
Yeah, I think that for the most part, the Thomas Fire they weren't specifically affected by that one. I believe it was the, I can't remember the name of the other fire, but the one that was near the Getty Center that was close to the 405. That one was a little bit scarier for a lot of people. And having lived there myself, like I said, for 11 years, I think the idea was like when family members and friends would see, wildfires on the news, we would always feel like, oh, that's so far away, or that's up in the hills. It's never going to get closer to us. And so I think this one might have been just a little bit scarier for folks because it did get relatively close. So, and then of course there was one in San Diego area as well as in Santa Barbara. So, I think the bottom line is, I pray for the folks that are impacted, that have been impacted, and definitely, hope that people remain safe. Help your neighbors, help your friends, but also, be safe. I know it's easier said than done, but understand that things can be replaced. Your life, your health, your well-being, those are the things that are most important. So prayers for everybody who's been impacted.
Yeah. And it's really, really sad to see so many thousands, not a few acres of land, but thousands and thousands of acres of land, and to really be scorched to the ground. And, shout out to the firefighters. I know there was a firefighter who recently lost his life, very young, has a family. And just shout out to those who put themselves in harm's way to save others and protect others. I can only imagine, the exhaustion, the sheer exhaustion this has been going on for weeks now, and actually for several months, because, we can't forget what happened in the Napa and Sonoma area earlier. And then now, so all over California and really all over the West Coast and other states. This has really been a dry season, and, it's going to kind of lead us into our number 2, which is the hurricanes and how these are related. Regardless, climate change is real and it is having an impact. So when we see these wildfires and the devastation that's being caused by them, and then we had the hurricanes, which really totally devastated parts of the Caribbean, the island of Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, all of those places that are tropical destinations that we love. Even some places here in Florida are still recovering. And like you said, things can be replaced, but it's really hard when you see your entire life.
Oh, absolutely.
by water or fire, because that's what happens in the hurricane, right? It's either water or fire. And so they both were just very, very destructive.
Yeah. So yeah, and of course Houston also severely impacted by the hurricane. Wow. So yeah, again, first responders, police officers, firemen, those who put their lives at risk all the time for other people, definitely shout them out. We appreciate the hard work that you do. For those who volunteer and work in shelters, again, we grew up in Louisiana. I myself was living in the New Orleans area at the time of Hurricane Katrina. So understanding that, to have people not only pour in their financial resources, but give of their time and energy to help others, that sacrifice is greatly appreciated. And it's not lost on those people who are impacted. I think one of the things that I personally struggle with is, of course, wishing that we could have some of that same level of unity and camaraderie in times that are not of tragedy or destruction, but to see everybody come together and see that resilience is great. But I will also say with that, please let us not forget about the people of Puerto Rico. I think that ultimately Houstonians have been able to somewhat bounce back, and I think the response was appropriate and it was immediate, as it should have been. But there are a lot of people, as you mentioned, in a lot of the Caribbean islands that were greatly impacted, that some islands were completely decimated. And so Puerto Rico, being a territory of the United States that's American citizens, they deserve to have our utmost attention.
And same thing with the U.S. Virgin Islands, because I think even in all of the conversation about Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands has largely been forgotten. And it had just as much devastation to some of those islands in that chain in terms of destruction and devastation. So we should not forget. And as you said, it would be great if during times of plenty, we are just as generous as when it's in time of need and distress.
All right.
Yeah. So put my comment there, just kind of do a quick recap here of what we've discussed so far. So we're talking about those top 5 hot topic areas for the year of 2017. So we've already talked about politics. And really, this was a shout out to all the diversity and progress made in politics in 2017. We decided we're not going to do the crazy politics in 2017 because we still have more of that to live through. So we just going to keep that, put a praise on that and just pray on that. So it's the shout out to the diversity and all the diverse candidates who took a stand and who put their hat into the arena, and they dared greatly, and they have a voice, and we're going to support them in their voice. The next thing we talked about.
I just forgot. It was Braxton Winston who won the Charlotte City Council that I mentioned. So Braxton Winston, shout out to him.
Shout out Braxton. Hey. The next thing we talked about was investments in the stock market. And we spent, stock market has been soaring. It has been trending high for the last several months, really over a year, probably almost 2 years, but it has reached record highs this year. And we talked about cryptocurrency and what does that mean? And so in the comments, you'll see a link to a couple of articles that we reference. But that is it's hot right now. So do your research, find out if you want to play in the cryptocurrency marketplace. The next thing we talked about the wildfires and the devastation and destruction that is happening right now all over the West Coast. We know that there's implications to change in our climate that is having an impact on those, and there's no rain still in sight. So we want to continue to pray for those people that have lost, and pray for those that are in the fight to keep the destruction as minimized as they possibly can. So those of our firefighters and our fire and rescue folks. The The second thing we had was the hurricane. So we know that this was a very active hurricane season and some major devastation and destruction that occurred all across the Caribbean and the United States. And we should not forget those who are still recovering from those as well. And you and I both saw that tweet from Anna Navarro this morning about, Atlanta airport was without power for I don't know how many hours, and like really people were losing their minds. But people on the island of Puerto Rico and some of the Virgin Islands, they're still without power now. So, hey, we should not forget that just because it's not in the news cycle right now and today, that people's lives are not continuing to be impacted and that they're still in the recovery process. And so, drum roll, please. All right, the number one hot topic, for 2017, and it is still a hot topic, is sexual misconduct. So I changed it from our first conversation about harassment to misconduct because the spectrum is so far and wide. It's deep, sister. So, it's really deep. And so today we saw Tavis Smiley come on Good Morning America to plead, to make his case for the situation that he's currently faced with the PBS organization. We saw Matt Lauer lose his seat in the anchor chair at the Today Show, and we saw Harvey Weinstein step down from his company. We've seen Russell Simmons step down from his companies. We've seen, let's see, oh my gosh, Mark Halperin, who is a political reporter and commentator. We've seen Al Franken, John Conyers, the list goes on and on, continues to grow. And we probably forgot that Bill Cosby trial ended earlier this year because in the last few months, he's been an afterthought, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is not funny, but the irony, we probably have forgotten. So,
yeah. So what do you think, sister? I actually started penning a blog about this, really because I want us to go into a few areas in this. So I penned a blog earlier, and I'll be publishing it soon, about is this the new sexual revolution that's occurring? Because the first sexual revolution was all about equity and having a seat at the table, having access to the same opportunities. Although we have access to those opportunities, we still know that women are paid less. We still know that women often have to face additional hurdles when climbing the corporate ladder. We also know that women are, very few in CEO positions and positions of power and leadership. I think the number is the status less than 3% of major corporations are led by women. So, so the first sexual revolution was all about that. It's about access and freedom and having opportunities. And then I'm wondering, is this the second sexual revolution? Is this the new sexual revolution? Because women of that earlier generation who fought for access and fought for a seat at the table, they were quiet about this topic.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is look at an episode of Mad Men to know what women were dealing with and the level of harassment that has been taking place for decades. So I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know if this is a sexual revolution or if it's a sexual evolution, and that we are finally saying that some behavior is just plain unacceptable, and we're saying it with a louder voice and a more persistent voice than maybe we said it in previous years. I think that, you know, something else comes out, and it's been hard to dial. I think ultimately there's something to be said about privilege and power and how it is being abused in a sexual context. So that being said, you know, you change it to sexual misconduct, and I'm happy that you changed that, because I have to be honest, I've been struggling a bit to figure out if, you know, while I definitely want us to speak up and speak out about things that make us uncomfortable, things that are just, you know, ethically, morally wrong, and then things that are illegal. I also don't want there to be sort of this catch-all, right? I think it's important to understand that it is inappropriate to hit a woman on her backside if she does not ask you to hit her on her backside. If you don't have the type of relationship with her that warrants hitting her on her backside. But that is also still a very different thing than being raped. And so I don't want everything to be just lumped in this category. And
or even I mean, you talk about you know, suggestive comments, mocking, you know, mocking and making a joke. I mean, I know that there was one congressman who asked his young workers about being a surrogate, and it's like,
from here,
you know, yeah. So that's a whole nother, you know, it's a whole nother thing. It's just this broad sweeping conversation that is happening, and there's so many ranges on this spectrum, you know. And what I wanted to, you know, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I don't want that to get lost, because it is that people speak up and speak their truth. It is important that people, all women and men, feel empowered to say that this behavior is unacceptable and it makes me feel uncomfortable. Especially in the workplace, it is important that we all have a voice, because we're entitled to work in a place where we don't feel marginalized or dehumanized. At the same time, like I said, you know, even looking at the allegations that came out, I saw something. I saw a headline that suggested that, you know, there might be criminal charges looked into or filed against Russell Simmons, but I hadn't heard the same thing from Matt Lauer, and it sounds like they both maybe have participated in some criminal activities. So, you know, at the end of the day, like I said, I think the only thing about this is I do not want, I don't want it to be diluted. I don't want the most egregious and most serious cases of sexual misconduct, rape,
battery, assault. Yeah.
Battery. I don't want those things to be diluted and in some way equated to being hit on the butt, or in the gentleman, and I would have to look up his name too, from Arizona, the representative from Arizona. It sounds like he offered to pay $5 million for someone to be a surrogate. So, you know, inappropriate, absolutely. But where there is criminal behavior, that needs to be treated as such.
Yeah, and so the one rule I want to say to everybody, man, woman, boy, girl, I'm putting it in the comments, keep your hands to yourself. Period, point blank. I mean, that's full stop. Keep your hands to yourself. And if you think a joke is funny, and no one's laughing but you, then just go ahead and apologize, full stop, and leave it at that. But I think that, you know, you and I, we talked about this a little earlier as we were preparing for this. And, you know, I have been going over this in my head. So we have a unique perspective on the extremes of this topic. We on one hand, in the early 1980s, had an uncle who was accused of a rape. It took 9 years for him to be commit, right? And DNA evidence ultimately got him exonerated, and that there are many cases like his around this country where men and men of color and men not of color have been accused of crimes and have spent a large number of years in prison for being accused of a sexual crime that they did not commit. And I understand that, in the haze, and the fog and the cloud of being traumatized, that a victim may provide the wrong name. They may think it's somebody that it wasn't, right? Because that is a real emotional shock and trauma that's taking place. So, that is that one side that we've seen. And the other extreme side that we have seen also in a similar time frame is that we have an aunt our aunt was assaulted. She was violently assaulted while she was on her job. She was shot and she was raped. And we saw on both extremes of this conversation about sexual misconduct, harassment, all the way down to rape and assault. We have seen the destruction on both extremes. And I think that's why both of us take pause and are very cautious about conflating all of these issues into one issue, because there is a difference from to an unwelcome advance to actually being raped.
Right.
There's a difference.
There is. It's again, this is a tough topic. Like I said before, there's a lot of mental gymnastics that a woman has to go through, or a person has to go through, when they have been violated in any way, shape, or form. The bottom line for me, I guess, is that, and it's not to say that men are not victims of sexual misconduct or sexual assault, but I think the bottom line is that we live in a culture that, in a lot of ways, instructs men that they have control over women's body, and that they can do what they want to, when they want to, and how they want to. And the flip side of that is we live in a culture that also teaches women how not to get raped. And that's a problem to me. It becomes about what you wear. It's about what time of night you were out. It becomes about who were you with, and what were you doing, and did you drink too much? And all that is problematic to me. So I think ultimately, if we are to ever see this trend change, if this is our sexual evolution, and we move from this space and this place where men feel like they can make any advances, they can do anything, they can make appropriate comments, they can touch you, they can grab you, they can do whatever they want to, because they ultimately have power. If we're so to evolve from that place, and from the place where girls are taught to not get raped or not get assaulted, to the place of, or to diminish themselves so they don't seem as attractive for a man. If we're supposed to evolve from that and change from that to something different, then it starts with having real, honest conversations with our children about what is and what is not appropriate.
Yeah, and so we have a comment in the comment section saying, keep inappropriate words to yourself. Thank about even in the days of Black Beach Weekend or Freaknik, how this was rampant.
Yeah.
You know, I shared in our first time we talked about this. You know, I've been out at a concert, an open public concert, and been grabbed on, or even out during Mardi Gras and been grabbed on, and not know who the grab or the hand came from because there's so many hundreds of people around.
Right.
And so it is. It's a problem, and I think the bottom line is that people need to treat each other with some dignity and respect, and those who are in positions of power or who feel that they have agency over others need to recognize that they don't, period. Because it is a, you know, as we talked about earlier, it's the thread about that whole power and privilege dynamic that strains through this whole discussion about sexual misconduct, inappropriate comments, inappropriate jokes, all the way down to racism and bigotry. I mean, it's this whole thread about power and privilege, where I think I have right and agency over another human being, and I don't, because we're all human beings and we have rights and agency over ourselves and our own lives. And that's, I think, is the key takeaway for me. So,
yep.
Yeah. So with that being said, we're gonna lighten it up a little bit before we get off. So because that's a heavy topic. And I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna probably continue to talk about it, because I think we're gonna need to continue to talk about it in 2018, because I don't see where this issue is going to fade. I think that it is going to continue to be illuminated until we think we're at the tipping point. I don't know if we're at the tipping point just yet.
Yeah.
I think there's more to come. So
I did want to say something really quickly. So we talked about the fire, the Skirball fire that was a center that was in there that burned homes. So I wanted to get that name right. Like I said, I had mentioned Braxton Winston earlier. Wanted to get his name right in terms of someone, a new politician to watch. Then as far as the Sarah conversation, that was Representative Trent Franks, Arizona. I wanted to get those names right because I don't want it to feel like we are not doing our proper research. I just didn't write anything down. So wanted to get those right. Come on, let's lighten it up.
Lighten it up. Okay, so in the comment section, I'm putting a link on the top 2017 Twitter trends and Twitter topics. And I don't know why chicken nuggets was like retweeted so many times since
because the young man, he was trying to get his free nuggets, and so they told him he had to get 18 million tweets, so he was working for them free nuggets for a year. Girl, I would not want him to make that his diet, but apparently he really wanted them nuggets.
Get the nugs on, boo. All right, man. The next thing that popped up, and although that we know we have a Twitter in chief and that currently resides in the White House, it seems that some of the most liked tweets and most retweeted tweets actually came from the previous White House resident. It says like 4.6 million. One of his tweets was retweeted like 4.6 million times. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yes.
We know about the Black Lives Matter continued to trend, but we also know that the take a knee and boycott the NFL also was a really hot Twitter trend. And to our previous topic, Me Too, also it started to get more tweets as this year has come to an end.
Yes.
So, but shout out to Me Too, the original founder of that, and her name just escaped my brain, so you might want to Google that for me, so keep us honest.
Sure.
She came that hashtag actually started years ago. And so it was been brought back to the forefront with the current climate that we have about sexual harassment. And let's see. Of course, Queen Bee continues to be one of the top and shared tweets worthy people in the year of our Lord 2017. So shout out to Queen Beyonce. Knows.
I'm not mad at Beyonce. Beyonce is out here having twins, going on tour. Her man, he get Grammys, turning down Super Bowl. I ain't mad at the Cardinals family. Do y'all thug this night, Cardinals?
Yeah.
Let me step my ambitious games up. Let me get me some 2018 goals that match the Cardinals family. So
yes.
That lady's name was Tarana Burke, Tarana Burke, Burke. So
yes. So shout out to Tarana Burke for being the originator of the Me Too hashtag that is continuing to gain momentum in 2017. So in celebrity news, since we talked about Beyonce, and the meme you didn't see, but I had to bring it up because, of course, it was, Jay-Z made history by, spilling his soul in his album and confessing in an interview that he cheated on his wife, his lovely wife, Beyonce, and then talked about, what would he say to his children and his daughter and all of that wonderful stuff. But out of that elevator scene, we got Cranes in the Sky. You got Solange album. Mm-hmm. You got Lemonade. And then I guess the last in the series was Jay-Z 444. So out of that elevator came those things, but we all knew what was happening in that elevator when it happened. So we didn't need that interview, Jay-Z. I'm just saying. That's just my take. That's my take on the situation. Because I got a sister. I'm talking to my sister right now, and I know what would be going down if something was being done wrong to my sister.
If I had to put them paws on Jeff.
Yeah, you had to put the paws on him, and then I did that Homer Simpson slink back into the bushes because I ain't stop you. See, if you was wrong, I would stop you, but if you wasn't wrong, I'ma just kind of I'ma let you do your thug fizzle, sister. Handle him, please. All right, we're gonna move on from that. Next in celebrity news that was really exciting. So Serena Williams, talk about personified black girl magic. She winning championships. She 5 months pregnant doing tennis matches and stuff. Then she have a baby and she get married all in the same year. Like what?
Again,
talk about some gold.
And like I said, yes, between her and Beyonce, I better try to find me a resolution that's I can stick to for 2018 because I'm just.
Yes, we all need a resolution, right?
Wow.
A resolution up in this joint. Yes. And
we can't forget, speaking of marriage and engagements, we cannot forget about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry getting engaged. And apparently, according to some magazines or some articles, every Black woman now can aspire to greatness. I don't know. Listen, I'm happy for them. That is awesome. Amen. Shout out to the Meghan and
Royals. Yeah.
The Royals, yes. And she's a princess. My understanding is that she would be a duchess. But nonetheless, shout out to them. Shout out to the trying to show us that diversity does amongst them.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think, you said it best when you talked about this one British commentator who said, yes, she's going to be the first known woman of color.
Yes. No, they have. Yes.
Over the centuries. Let's not forget where the British colonies ruled.
Right.
And they did have British rule all over the continent of Africa. So I'm sure she's not the first Duchess or Princess of Color. Maybe she's the first named. I don't know, girl. But we know a little bit about our history. So we're going to leave that right there. But I am happy for them. I am happy for anyone that finds true love. And hey, it all started from a blind date. Cool. Love that. Fantastic that they are making their way. But I don't think, like this giving Black women something to aspire to. We've always had things to aspire to. We've always had greatness in our DNA.
Right.
Shout out Shirley Chisholm. How about running for president? I'll just leave it right there. Okay.
Okay then. Okay. Well.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about as we get ready to close out this year? Oh, we did want to say, hey, congratulations, John Stamos, on expecting your first child.
Woo, woo. Yes. Hey, full house. We're going to get us a full house in 2018. Full house,
still getting it in.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, well, only thing.
We cannot close out without talking about the breakout star of the year, Miss Tiffany Haddish. Hey,
I love her.
The Black unicorn, right?
Yes, Miss Tiffany Haddish. Every time I hear her interview, she cracks me up because it's like she's just talking to her friends and telling them all kinds of stories about her life and everything going on. So yeah, shout out to her. I like to see people who I believe that are authentic, making it and doing well and just happy and enjoying the ride. So shout out to her for sure. And yeah.
Yeah, and I think that there is something to be said about, I think she gives us a great lesson in vulnerability, because she's just been very honest and very candid about all the struggles, because through those struggles, she now has great triumphs. She is also an example about what it means to be on your grind. Right. Yes. So she stayed on her grind. She believed in herself and her talent enough to stick with it through the highs and the lows, when she was getting a paycheck, when she wasn't getting a paycheck, when she was trying to create a hustle on the side, everything. Right. So shout out to her for staying on that grind.
And sister, listen, I have to say this. Now, I know I'm going a little off script and you might not be prepared for this. But in that same vein, we gotta shout out Cardi B, because listen, Lil Bodak Yellow came out of nowhere. I know she was on one of them reality shows,
the Love and Hip Hop,
that I didn't watch. But this girl made a song that I know all the words of, and I have never downloaded it, and because it's been everywhere. And somebody had to point out to me, look at her testimony. She ain't gotta dance no more. That's she making money moves. So, listen, in that same vein, we gotta shout those folks out. Tiffany Haddish, again, shout out to you, but gotta shout out Cardi B, because all of a sudden, established folks are saying they want to work with Cardi B, and I think that's awesome. You had folks doing gospel remixes of Bodak Yellow, everything. I'm still trying to figure out what a Bodak is, but
yes, shout out to the Bloody Shoes, right? Money moves. Go ahead, girl. I'm not mad at you. I think it is great. And I think, to the point we made earlier about Black women already being great and having things to aspire to other than being a princess, we already princess. We will make ourselves a princess. You don't have to, okay? Right. And that's what that sister did. And I say, kudos to you.
Yes.
I I saw this video of them playing her song in the subway in New York, and it was crazy how everybody, every hue, every age, every background, the person in the business suit and the person in the denim and the sneakers, everybody in that subway, didn't matter what they were, where they were going, they were every lyric. And like you said, I don't know if they downloaded it once. I know I never downloaded it once, but it don't matter. You don't do that thing.
And so speaking of Tiffany Haddish, she was on Ellen's show, and she talks about how she got a chance to meet Barbara Streisand. Mm-hmm. And you got to just watch that interview because she apparently introduced Barbara Streisand to Bodak Yellow. I had to tell her about Cardi B. And again, the testimony is just, everybody loved the testimony. So,
and we got a comment there. I agree. You can't knock her hustle. # Cardi B. That's right. I'm not mad at her. Thanks, Carlene, for chiming in. So with that being said, so we are going to sign off for this evening. This episode went a little longer because obviously we're talking about the entire year of 2017. And so we wanted to do a year in review, talk about some of those hot topics. If you had a chance to tune in live, thanks for joining us. If you didn't have a chance to tune in live and you're watching this on replay, we still want to get your comments and your feedback. So join in the conversation wherever you can. Join in the conversation. Go to Facebook and follow our page, Hey Sister. We are there. We have a lineup coming for you guys in 2018. As we said, we wanted to start this platform to really just have the conversations that we would have amongst ourselves, those private conversations between sisters. We knew we had something to share and in our worldview. And so we wanted to bring that to you via this platform and let you participate in the conversations that we have every day with each other. And so far, we're just really excited about the response and the feedback that we've been receiving. Whether you watched it live, watched it in the replay, or you saw it and you commented later, or you texted us, send us a message. We just want to thank everybody for joining in. We started this in October and here we are now. So super excited about what's to come in 2018. We're going to be bringing on some guests and just get ready for more in 2018 and look for more from Hey Sister. So that's my sign-off message. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, all of that stuff. Happy, merry, joy, and Festivus for the rest of us. Sister, what do you want to say to sign off for the year?
All of that, and then one thing that we did mention but we didn't touch on, we did lose a lot of great people this year, a lot of great stars, and I just looked back real quick, from Della Reese, Hugh Hefner, Mary Tyler Moore, just a few that came to mind. And there are many more. So anyway, at the end of the day, I think the key takeaway that I have is overall for me, 2017 has been a great year. It's been a year of change. It's been very exciting. We've lost a lot of greats, but we've had a lot of new faces, babies, like we said, born, people coming into this world. And I think the key takeaway is enjoy every single day of your life. Make every day a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. Make just enjoy it. Hug the people that you love, kiss them, let them know you love them, and take some time just to relax, relate, and release during this holiday season.
All right. So with that, from myself and my sister, thank you for joining us. Hey Sister 2017 year in review, and we will see you after the calendar turns. So we'll do a shout out to 2018. Peace out, folks.